All right, man. Well, thanks for coming back on the show, Adam. It's good to reconnect. I'm pumped for you. First of all, I just want to start off with that. You've been crushing it, dude. It's funny. I don't know how most people keep track of golf on their phone, like watching the tour. But I have you marked as, I don't even know if you've ever seen this on the ESPN app. You can mark like golfers you want to follow.
Hmm.
And so you obviously, I have like a little star. I followed yours. So every time a tournament's playing, it'll put like the first three people who are in the lead. And then whether you're in the, if you're in the top three, obviously you'd be there. And then if you're not, it'll still put you in like fourth. So every time a tournament's playing, I'm like, all right, Adam's either, in the hunt or whatever. So I'm always keeping an
Or
eye
just
on
having
it.
a short week.
You know,
A short week for
hey,
Adam this
first of
week.
all, you haven't had very many short weeks lately. You've been crushing it, dude.
Thank you. You've been doing better. Got off to a nice start last fall, and then the spring was, historically I've struggled on the West Coast, and that trend continued again this year. But it's all good. Getting in the last couple majors. I'm excited for my first U.S. Open. So
Yeah, and you just
fortunate.
played it. That was your first PGA too, right? This was the first time you
Yep,
played in that.
yep. First
That's pretty
major
crazy, man.
championship. Yeah,
Because
yeah.
this is your what? This for everyone listening who doesn't know, he hasn't listened to the other podcast before. What year is this technically for you on tour?
This is my fifth year on the PGA Tour. So
That's
kind
crazy.
of coming to an end of the fifth year. I think there's only like 10 events left or so, 10 weeks left maybe.
Is that
So
it?
it's crazy. Yeah, because they do the wraparound season. So, well, until the
Oh
playoffs,
yeah.
excuse me, until the playoffs.
Okay.
So then there's three events in the playoffs, determine, your FedEx Cup ranking, and that determines how far you make it. So, more than 2/3 of the way through. So I can't believe just goes by so fast.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I can't believe it. I feel like I just started playing golf like for the summer, and it's crazy that you guys are already kind of in the tail end of
Yeah.
competitive season. Because do you go? I always thought the U.S. Open was the last major, but is the British Open the last major of the year?
Yes. British Open is the last major. I think it's um, maybe 3 weeks after, probably 3 weeks after the U.S. Open.
So they're pretty. I mean, they're pretty quick. Like all four of them are
Yeah.
pretty. I mean, they're not. There's not much time in between. I didn't realize that. I guess. Um, so what's it been like? I mean, yeah, I feel like in the fall you started heating up, and then this spring it seems like every tournament you're in the run. Like every single week. I don't think there's been more than maybe one or two that you haven't made the cut. Is that correct?
No, I missed a lot of cuts this spring. I play a lot in the spring, like on the West Coast, because if we come home, um, back to Indiana, the weather's not obviously ideal in January, February
Sure.
practice. So then when we're flying back, it's a day to get back, almost a day to get settled in. And then you have to leave on Sunday. It takes so long to get back and get your body adjusted. So you only are really home for, 4 or 5 days, rather than like a full week off, where if you miss a cut, you could come home and take 2 days off and then a whole week. So it's just logistically a long way to travel back and forth. So I kind of play the whole West Coast swing. And then we have a place in Jacksonville, Florida. So we'll spend a little bit of time there in the winter. So that makes the West Coast or the Florida swing very easy.
It is that I didn't realize that. So does the tour try to do like geographies in some sort of way?
In the winter, they do, just because of weather. So obviously there's like a, West Coast swing where it's like, um, you know, Palm Springs, starting Hawaii, Palm Springs, San Diego, Phoenix, LA. And then we move to Florida, and then Texas starts to get a little warmer after that. Then you go to Texas. And then after that, it's a little bit more all over, just with the Midwest and Northeast starting to get some more warm weather.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely January, February, March, they stick to, West Coast, Florida, and Texas.
Gotcha. Okay.
Have
Okay.
to.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a ton of sense. Have you felt like golf has it been different this year? I mean, it seems like your scores are reflective of obviously improvements you're making to your game, but for people who are listening who are the weekend golfer per se, like for you, what does it look like year to year? How are you? Is it just a constant improvement and a constant tweaking of your swing, your putting, your chipping? What are some of the things that are going into the improvements that you're starting to see now on the course?
It is, and it seems like it's just a constant adjustment. Honestly, from like day to day. I mean, some days it's all relative, for how much practice and time and effort and coaching that goes into us, being good golfers and playing on the PGA Tour. There's still a lot of variables. I mean, some weeks you just don't have it, and you don't make any putts, or there's a certain part of your game that's off. And it's really hard to compete on the PGA Tour, any tour, when something in your game is really off. Catch a few bad breaks, and then you're going to wind up finding yourself right around the cut number or missing a cut. So it's just so many variables: weather, different types of grass, different warmth conditions, raining, just a lot of stuff you have to deal with. And some weeks it just doesn't work out, whether you did everything right in preparation. And then other weeks you can, have a few things go your way, get hot with the putter, and then, find yourself in contention on the weekend.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy. It's just so dependent on just a lot of variables. That's why there's so much parity in golf.
Yeah.
It's tough to win, 5 or 6 times a year, like Scotty Scheffler's doing. I mean, it's obviously very impressive, but it just doesn't happen very often.
Sure. No, it makes sense. Has there been any specific part of your game that you're like, this year I've just been on fire with that?
Well, last fall it was my putting. When I finished third in Vegas, I think I led the field in putting strokes gained for the statistics that the PGA Tour keeps. I did well again in putting in Houston. That kind of seems to be the part of the game that takes me to the top of the leaderboard. If I find myself there, it's usually because of my putting. And then if I putt bad, I usually find myself towards the bottom of the leaderboard. So I found that to hold pretty true. This spring, I kind of struggled with everything, and then have recently been starting to get my ball striking to where it needs to be able to compete week in and week out. And then when my putting has been there, which has been struggling a little bit in the last couple months, but it's improving. I feel like I'm hitting good putts. Sometimes the damn thing just won't go in. Seriously. I mean, you hit good putts,
too good
and they don't
for
go
your
in.
home ball.
Sometimes you hit bad putts and they break too much or too little and go in. And you're like, that's the worst putt I've hit on this 9 holes, and it went in. And I've hit 2-3 good putts, much better than that one, and those didn't go in. So it's a lot of parity. You have to laugh. People say if you don't laugh, you'll cry. So it's a long season. So you just never know what you're going to get. Some weeks they just seem to go in, and other weeks they don't.
Sure. No, that makes sense. That makes a ton of sense. And then it's funny. I was texting you about it. I got to play at Medina a few weeks ago, and it's so crazy. Like, obviously me being a very, very amateur golfer, sometimes just not hitting the fairway can turn into 2 or 3 extra shots. And then when you watch you guys on tour, it just seems like, all of you get pissed when you don't hit a nice shot into the fairway off the tee, but you always have a recovery shot. You're fine, and you have another chance at birdie or par. Has that just been something over time, like saving yourself out of bad situations? The more I've studied and watched golf, and obviously, knowing you over the years and talking a little bit, it seems like sometimes that tends to be the difference between really, really good golfers. Like, obviously there's a lot of things that are different between your level and my level, but I don't know. It seems like saving a hole when you maybe have one bad shot on a hole versus a lot of us who, bad shot off the tee, you're trying to smack one back out of the fairway, you hit a limb, and then you're back where you started, and you're hitting your third shot.
Oh, yeah.
That type of stuff. You just never see that on the tour. I don't know. It's just so interesting.
You hit the nail on the head. I mean, everybody's good golf is pretty darn good. I mean, the top guys, Dustin, Rory, Jordan, Scotty, when their good golf is really, really on, I mean, they're tough to beat. John Rahm, you're probably not going to beat John Rahm around Torrey Pines if he plays his best. You're probably just not going to beat him. So the talent, honestly, the confidence, the not willing to lose attitude, they're on. It's just tough. But what defines my idea of a great professional tournament that you play in and you have to compete in to win, if you can recover from the situations that you put yourself in that are not ideal, that's how you separate yourself from others. So when you get in the rough, that's why a lot of times if you see a ball diving just into the rough, those are the worst places to miss, because you're just off the fairway. So the sprinklers are right there off the fairway. So that grass is the tallest and there's no people walking there. So if you miss it, 10 or 15 yards right, now you've got people there where the grass is trampled down. So a lot of times you'll see somebody get really upset, maybe in the US Open or a tournament where the rough's long. Because then from the rough, for one, I'm screwed already. The greens are firm. Now I can't probably get to the green. if I can get to the green, I can't spin it enough to stop it. So then it's just about, damage control. How do I give myself a chance to make par without completely ruining my golf score? Which you said, and sometimes, it's just, it's got to be somewhat similar to, to business life. When everything's going good for companies, it's fine. Everybody handles the good pretty well. It's how good can your bad be? And I think that's exactly what defines professional golf, especially. I'm guessing that lends itself to other areas, but definitely I can speak on golf being that it's almost not how good your good shots are. It's how bad are your bad ones.
Yeah,
it can't be too bad.
That's a great way to think about it. For you, like that's a good example. So if you're in the rough and you have a green that's hittable on your second shot, so you're like on a par 4, and to your point, you say the greens are firm. So what's your, like, for the average golfer who's listening to this, what's your play? Like, how are you approaching? And obviously it depends on the hole and everything else, but
of course, always just different. I'll run you through. Always different. I'll run you through a couple scenarios. So let's say it's the front pin and the greens are really firm. Maybe the green, pitches, it's pretty level. So it's not like there's a backstop where you can like hit something and spin it back. So then you have to, if you leave it just short in the rough, you're toast. You have to, you'd have to lay it up to 80, 90 yards where you can spin it, land something at the pin. It's going to take 1 bounce and then 2 bounces and then spin back. If there's a bunker short, now you have an option to try and press it up in that bunker because you can spin it a little bit from the sand. All the while.
Oh, so you might try to actually go for the sand.
Might try, because the sand is 95 times out of 100. The sand is always better than the rough because you can hit closer to the ball. You can get ball to club contact.
Okay.
But you go for the sand and now you miss the sand. Now you're in the rough. So now you're like, wow, I took on some risk. It didn't work out. Now I know I'm screwed. So now I'm hitting it to 20 feet. But you kind of, you see some guys get upset when they do that. And obviously I do the same, but like you knew the risk going into it. If you didn't pull it off, you knew there's a chance you're going to hit in the rough. So it's really nothing new to you. You knew there was a chance it was going to happen.
Right.
So if anything, you should get mad, at the shot that puts you in the rough with your drive or something. And if it's a back pin, now it's totally different because now you would almost rather be in the rough because you just chunk something out and it runs up to the pin. In the sand, now you're hitting a 30-yard possible bunker shot where you have to chunk it out of the sand as well, because most sand shots you hit, they take 1 or 2 bounces and spin. To a back pin, that's not what you want. You want something rolling out.
True. Okay.
So the obviously the more spin you put on it from the sand, the closer you're hitting to the ball, and the closer you hit to the ball means that every once in a while you're actually going to hit the ball first, and it's going to go 80 yards over the green out of bounds into the people, which is always embarrassing. But it happens a couple times a year.
I was going to say the people aspect scares me more than any other component of watching you guys play. I don't know how was that a weird thing to get used to? Because you probably had a lot of that even in college, right? I actually never, funny enough, I never went to like an event at Purdue. I should have done that, but it's funny, right? I think back, I'm like, why didn't we never come over there? That would have been a fun, I don't know.
Well, they were on Saturdays, and most people were doing other things on Saturdays.
You could do those things at a golf event, I would assume. Maybe not.
You could have done them before at Breakfast Club and then come out and then, really added some excitement.
I don't know why that was not a thing. We should bring this back to Purdue. There should be a new thing.
We should, because it would have added some excitement to the golf because it's pretty damn boring.
Be like a Phoenix Open meets Breakfast Club at Purdue type of situation.
Ooh. That would be fun. Yeah, you could watch the Purdue groups go through the turn and then leave. You came and did your golf diligence and said hi and left and back to the activities.
That's hilarious.
But the people, in college, not a lot of people watching. Parents, coaches, maybe some fans. Just a couple Purdue fans here at Ohio State, a couple Ohio State fans, whatever. A lot of Big Ten tournaments we played in.
Sure.
So a little bit of that, but like at the PGA, Tiger was there. So many people, you can always tell where he was at on the course. On Saturday, he played maybe 3 or 4 groups in front of me, and you could just always tell when he did something. couldn't always tell, if it was a birdie, a great shot, but anything that he did that was a darn good golf shot, which, almost getting his leg amputated, a couple of years ago, whenever it was. I mean, just the fact that he's made the cut the first 2 majors might be his best accomplishments
I would
ever,
agree.
honestly. I don't know how he did it. I mean, he just looked like he was in pain watching him chip on the chipping green on Saturday and walk around the putting green, getting his ball out of the hole. I mean, he just was in pain. And obviously with your Sunday, but on the weekend, I think I had a span I think it was on Saturday where I hit 4 people in 9 holes, and I had to give away a glove. You give away a ball or a glove. And I'm to the point where I'm I had to switch from, I gave away 3 gloves. And I'm like, I have to stop giving away gloves now. And then the next time I hit somebody, only 2 of them were on the fly, and neither of them were bad, thankfully. But I started giving away. I'm like, I can't give away any more gloves. I don't have them.
Yeah,
it's been raining, so a lot of them are wet and ruined. But I'm like, I had to give away balls. So I was kind of joking with the fan, but it's when they're all lined down the right side of the fairway and where they're at. They've been there all week, and you hit one right, and they're right in the landing zone. I mean, if there's 300 or 400 people, it's impossible not to hit somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, you just know it's going right for them, and you're like, please don't kill somebody. Please don't hit anybody in the head. Oh my goodness. Because it's going to hit somebody, whether it's on the fly or the bounce. It's going to.
Yeah. It's always amazing.
It's a very uncomfortable feeling.
Is there ever serious injuries out there? I never feel like I hear about them. You'd think it'd be way more common.
You think it would be. And I mean, people get hit in the head. A lot of times, I saw somebody get hit in the head, off a low pull hook drive. Ooh. I don't know how fast the ball's going, but I mean, in the hundreds of miles an hour, probably 140 miles an hour, hitching the head. And a couple times they've been up there bleeding, but fully conscious. I saw a guy get hit in Japan, and he wasn't even sitting down. He just had a sock on his head, and they were bringing him an ice pack, and he was just standing up going around, and he got hit right on top of the head, and it just cut him right where his hairline met. And
wow,
he was totally fine. I mean, maybe he had a concussion. I'm not sure, but you think he would be something that would render you unconscious. But
yeah, you'd think. I mean, they're coming in hot.
I don't know how somebody hasn't been, seriously injured. It's like at a baseball game when they, a righty pulls one down the left field line into the, into the third base seats.
100%. Baseball's probably worse.
Harder, bigger, heavier. I mean, that would hurt more than a golf ball. So I don't know how people don't get, they reach up and try and grab it with their fingers. And, it seems like you just have a couple broken fingers every baseball game, but maybe it happens and we don't hear about it.
This is going to sound grim, but if you do end up pulling one or fading one and sending it into the crowd, does it ever actually help? Because you might have hit someone and it kind of stopped versus I'm envisioning some of my horrible tee shots. I mean, I'm talking if I really pull one and I'm trying to, hit it as hard as I can for some dumb reason, and I end up fading it, it's going to the next fairway. It's not even just off to the right. It's
absolutely. It's always helpful when spectators are there. For one, it can kick back towards the fairway. 2, It doesn't keep going further right unless it hits somebody and then continues to go right, which it doesn't happen. And probably the most importantly, 3 is when it does finish in the people, their feet have been trampling down that grass all week long.
Right.
So now you're hitting off of a firm surface where you can get the back of the ball rather than having, lush grass there where you can't do anything with the ball. It's just coming out with no spin. So that's the biggest difference. But it's the feeling of it being in the air and knowing that you're potentially going to really hurt somebody is it's a very uncomfortable feeling, because you've seen them there all week. There's a couple thousand people right on 7, for example, the PGA, and everyone misses it right on 7 at the PGA. The fairway slopes that way, the wind was off the left. So basically everyone just kind of hits it over there, and you're just 4, and you're just holding your head, just watching.
Oh,
and
no.
It always lands in the middle of the people, and sometimes it hits somebody in the leg, and you always get up there and they're crowded around and, hey, did it hit anybody? No, or yeah, and then you sign a glove and go on your way.
Yeah. That is so interesting. I didn't know you signed a glove every time. That's so funny.
I do. I think most people do something, especially if you hit somebody and they've got a big welt. I hit a dude right in the shoulder, and he had a nasty welt.
Okay.
So I mean, you just feel bad.
For sure.
It's the least we can do. But I mean, it's not a very good consolation for them. If Tiger Woods hits you and you get a glove from him, that's pretty cool. But He's
Hey,
probably using
yours
that
might be
glove.
worth something someday, man. Don't discount it.
I better start playing better, but maybe
You're working on it.
working on it.
What was it like for you? I wanted to ask. So, I mean, obviously, it's interesting. I've been paying a lot more attention this year than I think I do in a typical year. But even like the PGA, the field is obviously a little smaller. If I'm not mistaken, you have some people who aren't on the normal tour events that are just that they either have won the PGA or I'm not sure exactly how the qualifying works, but like I think John Daly was a good example of he was there at the PGA, but he's not like running around the tour. He's on the Masters now. What was it like qualifying for your first PGA? I'm sure that was a crazy feeling. I mean, it's got to be just a huge accomplishment just in itself.
It was great. I mean, I found out on Saturday the week before. So 2 days before the week started, I was at Byron Nelson and Davis Love withdrew with a toe injury. So that's how I got in. I had a good feeling I was going to get in because Bryson was still in the field. He was hurt. Paul Casey was still in the field and he'd been hurt for a long time. Harris English was still in the field and he was hurt for a long time. So I think like 6 or 7 people got in the field past me, but like you said, definitely a huge accomplishment getting the first major out of the way. And then, once I was there, it's like, all right, it's great to be here, but let's try and do a little damage while we're here. Pretty sick golf course. So playing 4 rounds, would be a great accomplishment for me getting in the tournament late. Never knowing if I was going to be in that week was, maybe a little distracting. It's a little more difficult to prepare when you don't know what you're going into. Am I going to play? Am I not going to play?
Sure.
So had a good first couple of days. Made a nice
did you
putt.
ever played there before? Sorry.
I had not.
Okay.
But I heard it was difficult and the greens were just very extreme. The craziest slopes I've ever played on. But I mean, it's very fair. You could advance the ball from the rough, but a lot of times back to hole 7, if you were in the rough, you couldn't hardly think about hitting the green. You just had to play your shot basically short in the bunker or just short of the green and chip it on. Because it was just so difficult and so penal. If you got in the wrong position, bogey was a good score.
Oh, wow. Okay. Got it. Very interesting. What was kind of the highlight or the biggest takeaway for the weekend for you? I mean, obviously, you not only made it, but you made the cut and you played great. Did you get 41st? What's funny?
41st, yeah.
Do you know why I remember that? And I will always remember why you got 41st. Funny fun fact here.
Okay.
I placed a bet that you'd place in the top 40. So
my gosh.
I never told you this. So Sunday I'm sitting there and I'm like, he's right here. Come on, Adam, you got this. And I
bogey. Oh,
I was watching live and I think, did you bogey 18?
I bogeyed 17 and 18.
That's right. That's right.
18 is a very reasonable bogey.
It is.
17 is a very unreasonable bogey.
I wasn't mad about 18. I remember because you weren't on like the actual the stream I was watching, and then I looked down and I was like, come on, just get a par on 17. it was just so funny because what's the chances? Like I randomly picked top 40 and you got 41st. I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. That's what it is. Hell of a tournament though, man. I mean, congratulations.
That's
finishing
funny.
41st in that tournament is, beyond impressive. I'm sure that was a crazy feeling. I mean, they gotta be so cool.
It was cool to get there. Made a nice putt on the 18th hole on Friday to know I made the cut. If I 2-putted, I was pretty certain I was going to make the cut, but making that putt was a good feeling.
Nice.
Left a pretty bad taste on mouth bogeying the last 2 holes. I think I was whatever place I was in. 17 was a birdie hole. Just hit some bad shots, but all in all, pretty darn good week. First major, first cut. So getting those things out of the way, hopefully, more to come and playing next week in the Open. But, I hadn't played a major up until then. So I was due to get it, out of the way.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
One.
Yeah. Did that leave a little burning fire in you? I'm sure just knowing you can, I think as soon as I have to imagine for you and for anyone on the tour, like qualifying for your first major and then not just qualifying, but making the cut, like you're playing as good of golf as anyone in the world right now. So it's gotta be a hell of a feeling. And then qualifying for the US Open. Congratulations for everyone watching this when this comes out. I mean, that's coming up and you just found out that last weekend, right? That you qualified again?
Yeah, I did. US Open qualifying. It's 36 holes. It was Monday. So I think they call it like the longest day in golf. It's always after the Memorial. I played Memorial and then I played in Columbus, Ohio after the day after the Memorial was over on Sunday. So it got through there. Yeah, I think I don't know how many different sites there are, but there is a lot, and 36 holes for everybody. So I think they call it like the longest day in golf.
I didn't know that. Okay. And you did well at the Memorial too, didn't you? You finished like 20 something.
26, yeah.
Damn.
26,
nice job, man.
last week.
Which that's a tough field too. That field was stacked.
Good field, and the course was tough.
Was it? Yeah. Telling you what, man, you're playing on fire right now. It's great. Congratulations. And then the U.S. Opens in Massachusetts, right? In a couple weeks.
Yes. It's in Boston at Brookline.
Have you played there before?
I actually have. So it's one of like the bigger courses that I have played. Because a lot of times, like, Congressional, Marion, all these U.S. Open, PGA courses, I haven't played because they're not in the normal, PGA Tour rotation.
Yeah.
And I haven't played many majors. So I played a U.S. Amateur there in 2013. So I remember a little bit about it. I'll probably remember more once I get back there and, just reminisce.
Yeah.
But I remember being a pretty, a very sweet course.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
And hard.
It's so fun. Is it a hard one?
I remember being really hard.
Yeah. This just means you gotta
just hit the fairways and hit the greens.
Hit more fairways, right?
It's it's not just hit the fairways, hit the greens, and
well,
that'd be a good recipe for U.S. Opens. I think I have never played in one, so I'll have to report back.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, so for everyone listening to, I think this is something really cool that I wanted to ask you was, so this is gonna be your second major, your first U.S. Open. What does it look like for Adam Schenk as your, what do you have, 2 weeks, I think? What's like the preparation look like?
So I took this week off, was supposed to play in the Canadian Open. Just practicing at home, doing a little resting up because I have been playing a lot of golf. But we leave on Sunday for Boston, direct flight from Indianapolis, which is clutch.
Nice.
I have to connect, so bags hopefully won't get lost. So
that'd be good. That'd be bad.
Hopefully don't get lost.
Does it ever happen? You lose your golf bag, like not getting transferred?
The one time I didn't lose my golf clubs. We were on a direct flight to, I forget where we flew into. It's from Indianapolis. I want to say maybe it was to Toronto. I'm not exactly certain, but I lost my clothes. So then I had to go buy all new golf clothes, which golf clothes are so expensive. I didn't realize how expensive they were. Because Under Armour just sends me some stuff, a couple shipments every year, and go on my way. But then I had to get logos put on them, and I didn't get my clothes until I think it was like Saturday. So my contacts were the biggest problem.
Yeah.
And if your clubs don't show up at a normal event, like if they get lost for some reason, they can build you new stuff. Obviously, you still have to get used to it. But sometimes the clothes is almost a bigger deal, because you see guys not being able to go on the course and practice, or just because they have the clothes that they wore to the airport. So you'll see some, I think they allow you on the range, you can hit balls, but I don't know that you can go on the course unless you buy clothes. So a lot of, you'll see guys out there and just, store-bought clothes, which is, more than fine. But, then figuring out the logos for your sponsors. Because of course, when you don't have your logos on, that's the week you'll play good and be on TV. So
100%.
but that's the only time I've had something lost for a significant amount of time. I'm traveling to an event.
Gotcha. So you'll get there. What are you getting there a week early?
No, it's next week. It's next week.
Oh, okay. Oh, got it.
Yeah.
So you
get this coming week, wherever you look at it, I guess.
Yeah. So you're gonna fly in on a Sunday, and then you basically have Monday. I'm sure. Is there a bunch of shit you got to do on Tuesday, Wednesday, and
I don't think so. Maybe a couple sponsor, meet and greets. But other than that, no, there's no pro-am. So I'll have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, to practice. I'll probably see the golf course. I'll probably go play 9 holes on Monday. Maybe might touch them all on Monday, and then I'll probably touch them all Monday, 9 holes Tuesday, 9 holes Wednesday, and then get after it. I think it's important probably not to wear yourself out before it starts, because it's going to be pretty mentally draining, I'm guessing.
No, yeah.
That's what I've heard. So, just preparing the best you can without almost trying too hard, I guess.
Sure.
Wearing yourself out before the actual tournament starts. I'll say that'll be a big challenge.
Yeah, no, I bet. Do you pay attention to your whoop? I saw you're still wearing your whoop. You still do a lot of that as you're prepping in going into the weekend?
A little bit. I actually haven't had my whoop charged in a couple of weeks. I've been lazy. I'm going to do it today, though.
So
I'm
it's
gonna
just
do it
on, but
today.
not doing
It's
anything.
just, exactly. It's just on. It's so bad. It's so bad.
You still have the old
Lazy,
one
lazy,
too. Isn't that the
lazy,
3.0? Come on,
lazy
man. It's
again.
free.
I
It's
know.
a
I know. I know. There's the Whoop lady with the PGA Tour. We just have to email and get it. But I mean, I think besides like it being smaller and the sleep thing that wakes you up, I've heard
yeah.
it's basically I've heard it's the same
It's
minus
a
those it's
yeah.
minus those
There's
couple
like
things.
two new features that I honestly don't think I've ever looked at. Something with skin temperature, and you know what the worst part though, and I actually do love Whoop, so I'm not trying to shit on it, but this morning is a good example. I've been using the alarm because it is nice, but today just didn't go off for some reason. So thank God I just woke up naturally.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, normally it vibrates. It's a pretty hard vibrate, but just randomly, I swear, every time I have like an early meeting or something in the morning that I have to get up for versus just like normally I get up early to work out, it doesn't go off. I don't know why. So I don't rely on it. Like I always either wear an Apple Watch to bed that vibrates or I have to put my phone alarm on. So I don't know. Goofy.
So it's not waking you up accordance to time. It's waking you up accordance to your sleep cycle. Is that correct?
You can set it up for either or. So you can set it up for an exact, which I had it for an exact time. So I had it going off at 6 this morning and it just
And it
didn't
just
go off.
never went
I
off.
know it. Yeah. I should look and double check why, but it did not for some, and it just randomly doesn't go off or I literally sleep through it, which I doubt, but I could have, I guess. Maybe I just
So
was,
I gotta ask you a couple of questions. So I
yeah.
follow you on social media,
Okay.
all your
All right.
channels. So you do like the mile streak day, the lunge streak day. You've done like a push up, max until fail streak day.
Yeah.
What day are you on of all that? When do you do it? Like what makes you want to continue to do that? Because I'm just like, dude, that's really impressive. Do that every day for 600 days in a row, or however
Oh, I
many days you
appreciate
do
it,
it.
man.
How do
Yeah.
you
No, I
like?
appreciate it.
What gets you going? Like, I mean, I'm pretty motivated by that. Like, it's really, really impressive.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. You know what's funny? There's a guy that I started following when we were at Purdue. It was me and Andrew used to do these workouts. So this guy, his name's Corey Gregory. He's been on this podcast before. He started a supplement company called Muscle Farm back in the day, which when we were in college, if you remember, it was like a pretty big supplement company. It was like the green and black logo MP. He's the one that kind of started doing this daily lunge thing. And I started researching it and following him a little bit. And the reason I started doing it was it just becomes a daily thing that there's no reason you can't. So for me, I started doing it, you do it for a week straight, you do it for 7 days. And it's like, oh, wow. Like your legs are toasted. It's the best cardio you could ever do. I always tell people that, and until people try it, no one believes me. Like I've run a marathon. I've done some of those like longer distance things and just like what normal people would do with cardio. And it never touches the amount of sweat and just pure exhaustion you get from doing body weight lunges. So
800 meters, right?
yeah. So 2 laps around a track. Yeah. Yeah. And
How ripped are your legs?
they're pretty ripped. Yeah. They're like,
Have to be.
they're so strong now. So the funny thing is, and I'll give you a little backstory. So the reason I started doing them in the first place was I had heard that if you're having knee issues, it's like one of the best ways for like rehabilitating your knees without getting like a surgery done. So I ran the New York City Marathon in 2017, didn't train properly, didn't know what the fuck I was doing, totally destroyed both my knees. Like my knees they were just beat up. I could barely run when I got home. Like even doing like normal squatting, anything just was excruciatingly painful. So I started doing the lunging as a way to just build up strength back in my knees. And then you hit